Most of the human population of the world is actually located in the northern hemisphere. वो हम कैसे हम ये कह सकते हैं because of the 2/3 of the total land जो part है वो northern hemisphere में मौजूद है. Secondly, इसकी जो climatic condition है वो northern hemisphere की southern hemisphere से बेहतर है because of the area which is under the highest amount of land, जिसमें 66% of the total land is covered with the continents, and 1/3 of the total land is covered with water. और इसका बिल्कुल बरक्स जो है सदर्न हेमिस्फीयर में है. वहाँ 1/3 of the total land is covered with continent and 2/3 of the total land is covered with वाटर बॉडी. सो जो वाटर का जो इम्पैक्ट है क्लाइमेट पे वो बहुत ज़्यादा है. इवन जो है वहाँ वेपरेशन ज़्यादा होगी, वहाँ पर बारिशें ज़्यादा होंगी. So that's why this is actually one of the factor कि most of the population of the world is actually belongs to the northern hemisphere. The world's largest concentration of the human population are all found on the same land mass, which is Eurasia. यूरेशिया से मुराद है यूरोप और एशिया, दोनों कॉन्टिनेंट जो हैं वो एक ही लैंड मास के ऊपर हैं. सो दैट्स वी कॉल इट द यूरेशिया. The overwhelming majority of the human population inhabit the northern hemisphere. So why? Because of the opportunities and suitability. So that's why we call it is a human population area. जिसमें अपॉर्चुनिटी से मुराद ये है कि वहाँ पर वी हैव regions which are under the developed countries, वो मौजूद हैं. Second most important thing ये है कि the countries are closely related, और ना सिर्फ वो closely related हैं बल्कि जो है वो उनका जो सी रूट्स हैं उससे वो लिंक होते हैं. सो दैट्स वाई अपॉर्चुनिटी वहाँ पर इस सेंस में ट्रेड की सेंस में उन्हें मिलती हैं. Now here are the major clusters of the human population. We are dividing Earth into two hemispheres, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And most of the cluster belongs to the northern hemisphere. It's about 2/3 of the total area covered with land. And whereas in southern hemisphere, 1/3 of the total land is covered with continent. सो यहाँ पर जैसे अपॉर्चुनिटी की बात हुई थी तो वी हैव अपॉर्चुनिटी लाइक ये सी रूट है जो गल्फ से और ये इधर से होता हुआ चाइना की तरफ जापान जाता है. एंड सेम इट हैज़ अ लिंक विद द रेड सी और स्विस कैनाल, द मेडिटेरेनियन एंड यूरोप, और यूरोप से फिर नॉर्थ अमेरिका. सो दीज आर द अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ के वाई वी हैव द क्लस्टर बिकॉज ऑफ द अपॉर्चुनिटीज़. लोग यहाँ रहना पसंद करते हैं. वाई? बिकॉज of the better economic condition. So trade is one of the opportunity. That's why population you have वहाँ पर हमें मौजूद नज़र आती है. Now here we have the major clusters. Number 1 belongs to the East Asia. Number 2 belongs to South Asia. Number 3 belongs to the Europe. Number 4 belongs to North America. And number 5 belongs to the southern continent. ये हम अगर सबको मिला के साउथ एशिया को, अफ्रीका को और ऑस्ट्रेलिया को मिलाते हैं तो इज़ इक्वल टू द यूरोपियन पॉपुलेशन. यानी यहाँ पर 700 मिलियन पॉपुलेशन रहती है. so is equal to the southern hemisphere population. So most of the areas are actually belongs to the human clusters के जो areas हैं वो northern hemisphere से related हैं. Now these are the two major clusters of the human population. First belongs to the East Asia. The East Asian population cluster adjoin the Pacific Ocean from Korea to Vietnam. The number of the people per unit area tends to decline from this coastal zone toward the interior. Also visible are several ribbon-like extensions of the dense population. These extensions represents population that are clustered in the basins and lowland of China, major rivers. This serves to remind us that the great majority of the people in East Asia are farmers, not city dwellers. So China has large cities such as Shanghai and Beijing. However, the little population of these and other cities is far outnumbered by the farmers, who produce crops of wheat and rice to feed not only themselves but also those in the cities and towns. Now, if we are dividing this country into densities, so this is actually the area which is sparsely population. Here we have 20 persons per square kilometer, whereas the northeastern and southeastern part of China has more than 1500 persons per square kilometer population. So why? Because this area is under cropland, this area is closer to the sea, and it has mild climate, so that's why most of the persons are living there. The second most important cluster in population is the South Asia, and this actually is the southern part of the Asia. It is actually consists of India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldivian Islands. So these are the 8 countries of the South Asian region. Now the population belongs to the area which is actually suitable for agriculture activities. Now the rivers are important here. In Bangladesh, Brahmaputra, the Jamna, and then the Ganga River and the Indus, and the 5 tributaries of the Indus are important for the agriculture activities of the South Asia. Now this is the second major population concentration, also lies in Asia and is similar to many ways to the East Asia. At the heart of this cluster lies India, but the concentration also extends into Pakistan and Bangladesh and on the islands of Sri Lanka. Again, note the riverine and coastal orientation of the most densely inhabited zones and the finger-like extensions of dense population on the plains of Ganga's river in northern India. This is one of the greatest concentration of the people on the earth. There are about 1.5 billion people in the South Asia population cluster. This map shows the densely populated area which is to the southern part of the Himalayas. Now this is the third cluster of the human population, major cluster, is called the European continent, the third ranking population cluster. At the opposite end from China, an axis of dense population extends from the British Isles into the Russia, includes large part of Germany, Poland, Ukraine and Belarus. It also includes the Netherlands and Belgium, parts of France and northern Italy. This European cluster consists of about 700 million population. Europe, terrain and environment are not as closely related to the population distribution as they are in East and South Asia. But unlike Asian extension, which reflects fertile river valleys, the European extension reflects the orientation of European coal fields. The fourth major cluster of the human population is the North America. So the population cluster comprises the east central United States, and southeastern Canada is only about 1/4 the size of the smallest of the Eurasian continent. The North America region does not have large, contiguous, high density zones like those of Asia and Europe. The North American population cluster outdoes Europe in some respect, as in the European region, much of the population is concentrated in major cities, while rural areas are relatively sparsely populated. The major focus of the North American cluster lies in the urban complex along the eastern seaboard from Boston to Washington, D.C., which include New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore. So this is actually the eastern seaboard of North America. Here we have the major cluster of North American population. Second belongs to the southern side of the Great Lakes, 5 Great Lakes, and then the Mexican population. So these are the areas where we have the major clusters. The Japan, a small island country, has a population of over 127 million. Its population concentration, as China and India, farmlands are limited because its mountainous character. So is a island type of area, but इसकी जो most of the area is under the mountainous region. इसकी जो farmlands हैं वो उसकी small holdings में है as compared to China, India and Pakistan. But is densely populated area of the East Asian nation.